Oh, Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 1. Bournemouth really let me down today. I was really hoping that Bournemouth were going to give something today and maybe City could drop points with UCL on the line. I'm not going to lie, as a bitter, jealous rival. But Manchester City were fantastic today. Manchester City won the game. And to be honest, I knew Manchester City were going to win the game going into this game. You know, the FA Cup final weren't at their best. I knew they were going to respond. But one thing about Manchester City is when it comes to the final running, if it's top four on the line or a title on the line, they seem to deliver in those last 10 games. I know they had an anomaly versus Southampton, but they won 4 of the last 5 games. They seem to just sort of know how to deal with that pressure in those must-win games. I remember title races where both City and Liverpool have won the last 10 games in a row, but City beat Liverpool to the title by 1 or 2 points. Both City and Arsenal, for like the last 20 games of the season, they might drop points in 1 or 2 games. City and Arsenal maybe in 3 games, and then City win the league. There's been so many times where City have taken the league to the final day and they've gone on this amazing run. And even though this wasn't a league title, I was just like, I felt like City were going to do what they needed to do to make sure they got Champions League football. And essentially all they need now is a point versus Fulham. They might not even need a point versus Fulham, depending on what happens in the other games on Sunday, which for me is UCL essentially secured. I don't see them losing to Fulham. And if they do, I still see Chelsea beating Nottingham Forest. So, City are now 1 point away from UCL football which is huge after a shaky run in the season they've had, but they've been much better lately, bar Southampton, bar Palace. And I will say, Pep went back to what was working today. I'm surprised he changed it up so much in the final. I remember the first Champions League final versus Chelsea, Pep tried some weird midfield without a DM. In the Crystal Palace game, Pep needs to stop experimenting and go with what works sometimes. I felt like he went back to what worked today. And I thought City were fantastic. I want to talk about Omar Marmoush. I think he's an absolutely fantastic player. What a goal. That's up there for goal of the season with Tonali and Cole Palmer versus Brighton for sure. But I feel like today, before I get into my notes on Manchester City, I feel like today Man City sent a warning about next season. They've basically got UCL football secured, which is going to help them get the players they want in the summer. But more than that, although it's De Bruyne's last game, they're going to replace him. Gundogan and Bernardo Silva rolling back the years, looking at their best. I think with Rodri coming in, that's going to get the better out of those two players who are sort of at the end of their careers anyway. It's going to be Rangers potentially coming in. I thought Nico Gonzales showed a lot off the bench. All of a sudden, I feel like City's midfield is going to be a lot better next season because there's going to be De Bruyne replacement, Rangers. Nico Gonzales, I think, is going to become a much better player when Rodri's back. Same with Gundo, same with Bernardo. I think they're all going to be much better players. I thought Kovacic, bar the red card, had a very good game. And, Marmoush looks alive. I know Haaland didn't have his best game, but you know what Haaland's capable of. And Rodri's back. What's his name? Oscar Bobb's coming back. I think he's a good player that could have been used this season. I think that's almost like a little bit of warning next season. Like, this is Man City saying, we basically got Champions League football now. We're going to do our stuff in the transfer window. We've got Rodri back. We might have lost De Bruyne, but I feel like this is the start of Man City coming back. And that worries me as a Manchester United fan. But I felt like today City just showed what they're capable of. They have defensive vulnerabilities, Man City. They have bozo moments in them, like the goal. They don't seem to be keeping clean sheets. They are gettable, but they started to show that technical quality that they'd lacked at times this season, the control, the midfield dominance, the electric start. 3-1 win, and they're now essentially back in Europe. And before I talk about Marmoush, who's honestly an absolute joke how good he is, let's talk about City's midfield. So I thought Kovacic was absolutely amazing today before the red card. It was almost like he wanted to be Rodri, with Rodri sitting on the bench. I thought Gundogan was excellent. I thought Bernardo was excellent. I thought Gundogan and Bernardo were rolling it back to the treble-winning season. I thought they had a fantastic game. They combined for the second goal. But Kovacic, that first half, I honestly thought was one of his best first halves for Man City. In that Man City shirt, like dictating the player tempo. I thought Manchester City grabbed a hold of that midfield so well and were controlling the game and creating chances. And, De Bruyne missed a sitter. I mean, it's a shame, I guess, he didn't get that goal when it sent off. He missed a sitter. Then Omar Marmoush was this screamer. And City were looking like a team that could be 3-4 They didn't start the second half as good as the first half, but they were 2-0 up, having gone into the second half. But while there was moments where I think if Bournemouth had got at them and really pushed their defence in the high line and the high block that they play, maybe it could have caused more problems. But Bournemouth, I don't know, Bournemouth were half asleep. Hoyson's head's in Madrid. Kirkus' head is on a move to Liverpool. Maybe Man City, there was a link today. I don't think Bournemouth were fully there, but I feel like Bournemouth could have caused City more problems if they really went at them. And I think City will look at a left back. I don't know if you're going to look at another centre back. I know you're looking at a goalkeeper, maybe a right back. I thought other than the goal, Nunes had a really good game today. And I think Nunes, you saw it versus Man United, he can make a mistake, but he's done really well in right back. And again, I think he was missed at the weekend for you. But it was Gundogan rolling back the years, controlling the game, resisting the press, Bernardo, the movement, Kovacic dictating from deep, and City had that control, and City looked really good again, in my opinion, today. They looked back to their best, which I think is a bit of a message for next season. And like, I can't lie, I know that Man United aren't going to be competing with Man City next season. Man United are just going to be hoping we can get back into the top six. But City winning is bad for Man United. It's bad for rivals of Man City, because City winning is basically UCL football guaranteed. Like, I feel like if City didn't win and they bottled UCL football, we're at a point where we're like, like, well, what are they going to do in the window? How much money is there? Could they lose some players? I don't know. I don't think they would. I still think they would rebuild comfortably and win the Europa League. But City winning is a problem in the sense of, yeah, I just feel like this is the start of City being back. I don't know what it is. But I feel like Bar Southampton and Bar Palace, they've got themselves together. They just need to get that Bozo moment out of them. I think Nico Gonzales is going to have a good year next year. I'm surprised he's been on the bench for so long. But Marmoush, I just think Marmoush is quality. He is a chaos creator. 7 goals and 2 assists since January. A worldie. Why does it say the third goal as the first goal? A worldie for his first goal. Sorry about that. Me just not thinking. But I read this online and I completely agree. He reminds me of a bit of Rafinha, where he can just pop up and in that moment he just whacks the ball with power and scores that goal. Like, I feel like I've seen Marmoush score more screamers than easy goals. Is that just me? I feel like his runs he makes, his finishing, his power is so dangerous. He could have also got an assist. He's got a great football IQ. But sometimes I look at Marmoush and he's like, screw Pep and this passing back sideways system, half space, combined triangle stuff. I'm going to do my own shit. And that's what I like about Marmoush. Sometimes I feel like he's like, screw the system. I'm going to do my own stuff. And today Marmoush delivered. Maybe he could have passed more to Haaland with his runs in behind, but I thought his movement was good, Marmoush. I thought his ball striking was ridiculous. That arguably could be goal of the season. But I think it's he wants to make things happen. And I think City, they need that, not backwards, sideways passing, where Grealish has been a bit backwards, sideways lately. Foden has that guy that's like, I don't care, I'm going to take risks. And I think that was a good performance from him. So here are my other notes on Man City. After Palace lost, City needed to respond, and they did. I think this is their best game in a few weeks, I think, with Rodri fit, Bobb returning, and key players clicking. Now, I think key players like Gonzales will click next season. I think he's going to be a good signing for City. I think City are reloading. UCL is essentially confirmed. It's going to give them the budget to spend. They're going to spend the summer. It's a little bit frightening as a rival. Like, for me, City winning, City getting Champions League is bad. Even though Man United might not be in Champions League next season and we're not competing with Man City next season, as a rival, it's bad. Because you're like, it sounds a bit bitter and jealous to say, but it's like, oh, I don't want City to have a good window and buy this player and buy that player and win the league again. But I also don't want Liverpool to win the league. So maybe City can stop that. Anyway, Nunes, I thought, looked good. I thought midfield woke up. I thought there was really promising signs. And as I said, I think this win is the start of something for Man City. Well, I want to talk about a few other things. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne's last game didn't get that goal. I think De Bruyne, I still think he has another season left in him, but I assume it's the wages and maybe the legs have gone a bit, and City is sort of like they want a bit fresher. But interesting to see who goes forward. There's Morgan Gibbs-White links, but he's not quite Florian Wirtz. I'm surprised you haven't tried Musiala or Xavi Simons there. Maybe Morgan Rogers bring back. But I have to say, like, De Bruyne's last game, Grealish's last game, I mean, he's been pretty bad this season. There's rumours of Foden leaving, but I highly doubt that with De Bruyne leaving. I think Foden's not had a good season. And I've always said this about Phil Foden. I said this about him during the Euros. I said, Phil Foden's never really delivered for England for me, because he's very much a system player and very much reliant on being in his best role with the players around him performing. And Foden's one of those players where he's a good player. He's an extremely talented player. But if the players around him aren't performing or giving them movement, he doesn't have that core around him, he gets lost. And I feel like, if you put Foden in Man United, I mean, Man United is like the hardest team to perform, and we are just shite. He would just fall off a cliff. Whereas Man United have got people like Bruno Fernandes who could play in a shite team and still play well. And I think that's the one thing Foden lacks. I feel like De Bruyne, he could play in a shite team and still do well. Marmoush could play in a shite team and still do well. And I think that's the one thing with Foden. It's not that Man City were shite this season, But I feel like when Man City have needed Foden most this season, he's not done it. And there is question marks around Foden, but I think Foden's going to have a good season next year because I think with Rodri coming back, with you having maybe Reinders in midfield, a few players about the attacking dynamics being back and better, bit of confidence. I think Foden will be back next season, have a good year. But I think he's been disappointing. Grealish has been underwhelming for City. But I just feel like the City's underperformers are going to show up next year. Rodri's going to be back. I think Rodri coming back is just going to make everybody else better. That's the impact he has. And, Vinicius Jr. crying over not winning the Ballon d'Or, but I think Rodri's absence, and Vinicius Jr. hasn't even had a good season this year, proves, yes, Rodri deserved that Ballon d'Or. He won the Premier League, he won the Euros. It's not always about flashy attackers and Real Madrid players winning and who was the Champions League winning. It's about who was the best and most important player, and that was Rodri last year. But I wanted to talk about a few other points from the game. I thought the midfield was good. I thought Gonzales looked sharp off the bench. I thought his dribbles, his movement, he looked quite good in that final third, looking like a pretty good 8. Nunes works at right back, but he will have that moment in him where he's going to have that mistake in him. Pep, he went back to the trusted setup that's worked recently. Surprised he changed it for the FA Cup. But as I said, City looked good. The midfield was good. The attack had good moments. Couldn't really get Haaland in the game. He made good runs. He lapped the service, but Haaland couldn't really get in the game. I look at maybe the left flanks getting a left back. Kirkus crossing could boost City. But I thought the City were good today. And yeah, let me know your thoughts down below, City fans. But this was a huge win for City. All they got to do is get a point versus Fulham. Maybe they can lose as well. You never know. Thank you for watching. Bye.